Did you send the chat?
I did, yeah.
I didn't see it pop up.
Let's make sure you're in it. You are not. And people, Casey.
There it is.
Yeah. Fuckface, come on. I barely ate anything yesterday until dinner because I was like terrified that I was gonna get this stomach bug, and I was just like,
I
I
bet.
whatever it is, I don't want it coming back at me. So like, but then I was making myself feel shitty because I wasn't eating. So then finally, like yesterday, dinner time, I gave in and I had the actual meal I wanted to.
And he had to roll the dice, see if it stayed down.
Yeah.
The wife and kid getting any better?
Yeah. Hold on a sec.
Oh, damn it. Didn't copy.
Okay, link is sent. I did a quick check here. I don't see anyone else on right now, so I gotta bow out for a minute. Sorry about that. I'll be back. If you see people, I think you can add them into the call, right?
Yeah.
Just right click. Okay. All right, I'll be right back.
Alrighty. Are we
Clam
live?
down my shot.
Here we watch the middle-aged Derek in its natural environment, preparing himself for a long winter's nap. You notice as he gets ready to leave the cave, but he returns for his copy of Friday the 13th on VHS. And now he's gone. So yeah, it's just me. Hadn't told anybody yet, but we're bringing cinema fromage to the Bloody Good Horror Patron Network. How about that, huh? So you'll be hearing some shows from my beautiful wife and I talking about some B horror movies, direct to video. We like to run rules if you never checked out our old show from about 2 years ago. It's got to be a movie that was direct to video, did not play in theaters, and neither one of us can have seen it when we started yet. In the past, we've done all sorts of great stuff like The Majorettes, The House is October Built, all sorts of cool stuff. But now we're going to be getting back at it. And we haven't picked out our first movie yet, but we got some good stuff on the list to check out. One of them is a that Colleen just found today called Haunted Maze. It looks haunted and mazy, and it has a clown. So it's got that going for it. But I've always been a fan of the low budget horror. I mean, those people work hard on that crap. They deserve some credit too. I know it's not something I always want to sit down and watch, but hey, it's fun sometimes, especially the old B movies from the 80s, stuff like that. Those are my favorites. Well, then. I hope everybody out there had a good turkey day. Mine was good. Saw family, my rents, my in-law, my sister, and her fam. It was a good time. We enjoyed ourselves. I actually got turkey this year. Usually we don't get like to cook our own turkey, but we did this year. It was awesome. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. So, yeah. Ooh, Lady Krampus. This sounds like a must watch. It's Christmas time in Cleveland, Ohio, and four young ladies are on the verge of completing their mandatory 30 days of community service. With only one night to go, they are required to lose their place in what they were reading and have to fill up space while they try and catch up. But then they're required to make a series of in home visits to the older and less fortunate. Upon arriving at their final stop for the night, they become introduced to a pleasant older woman who graciously welcomes them into her home for the evening. However, as darkness falls and the cold settles in, they begin to realize that there is far more to their seemingly innocent host than meets the eye. I don't know about you. I'm terrified, but probably not. What a terrible poster. Got no questions as of yet, so I'm guessing there's nobody watching the feed. But that's okay. I understand. Ooh, Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker. An orphan teenager finds himself being dominated by his aunt, who's hell-bent on keeping him with her at all costs. Dun, dun, dun. Ooh. Bloody cleavage on the very first picture from the movie, so it's got that going for it, eh? Named Best Horror Film of 1982 by the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror. I didn't even know one of those existed.
Is seriously nobody else here yet? What the fuck?
I wasn't even watching Skype. I didn't see anybody pop up, though.
I only see CC. Hello.
What's up?
How are you?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Doing okay.
Are you surviving over there?
Yeah. Today was better. Nobody vomited today.
Good. That's the good.
So
That's a good
far.
start.
Yeah, Saturday night Laura got sick and then like really bad. And then Sunday morning, Laura was just basically like bed bound and I was taking care of Lily and all of a sudden I turned around and she just like popped like a balloon, just went brr, and just like I was
Oh
like,
no.
oh no, what's happening? So then she had it. So then it was her turn to get sick yesterday.
Yeah.
And at that point I was like, well, I'm gotta be close behind. So
Yeah.
I was telling
I
Casey,
was like, you're doomed at that point.
I was telling Casey I barely ate anything yesterday because I was so terrified of like throwing it back up. So once I got through to like dinner yesterday, I kind of did the math in my head based on when they were exposed, and I'm like, I feel like I'm okay. I'm just gonna eat what I want to eat, and it's
Yeah.
and
Well,
I've been
obviously,
fine.
it
So
did the trick. Yeah.
oh god, today was but then today like the second day for both of them was like fever, chills, aches.
Oh yeah.
And it's bad enough for Laura, but like, you know, the baby doesn't even know.
Oh, yeah.
She doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah.
So she's
I
just
was going to say she just is miserable.
yeah, she's just confused.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to sit down. She doesn't want to stand up. A couple times she acted like, you know, we were kind of just snuggling on the couch, and she acted like, oh, I want to get down. I'm like, let go. And then I would put her down, and she would just start going, like, just immediately doesn't move, just start
Aw.
crying. And I was like, okay, back up we go.
Well,
But
it sounds horrible, but I'm glad that it was manageable at least.
yeah. I mean, I took the day off today, so that was all right. I took part of my day to watch The Babysitter. Or no, this movie, whatever this movie's called.
Better watch out.
Better watch out.
The other babysitter movie.
Yeah. The other quote, dudes, get over your babysitter movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Call it a day on that one.
I didn't realize that was such a trend. That was,
I
you know.
mean, we can talk about it on the show. It's not a thing, but it's
No,
like
no, I don't mean that. I just mean like
it's a trend for sure.
I didn't realize it was a contemporary trend, I guess is what I should say.
Have you seen Pornhub?
No. Sorry. I get it elsewhere, I guess.
Yeah, but at Pornhub, it's usually like the dad and the babysitter, which is a different genre altogether, I think, than
Right.
this movie.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say that I would have understood, but like, I didn't know. Whatever.
Hey, Joe.
What are you guys talking about?
This movie.
Pornhub, that's what we're talking about.
Go on.
Nope.
Ooh. The Manster, half man, half monster.
Why must I be like that? Why must I chase the cat?
Ain't nothing but the dog in me. True. So did you guys pick up that that was the kid from The Visit?
Yeah, I did.
I finally looked it up before the end of the movie.
Because you're like, who is that kid?
Yeah, because I was looking at it, and he looked familiar, and I couldn't place it.
The kid with the stupid rapping in The Visit.
Stupid rap.
Yeah, it was funny though.
The first time I saw it, not as much in the rewatch.
Uh, but hey, good for that kid. He looks like he grew some.
His voice is much deeper.
Yeah.
All right, we need some off the top icks.
We can talk about how we're starting our year-end lists for the site.
Yes.
And the book club is reading a book. We also have a 2018 book challenge coming up, and I'll be posting the books for 2018 next week as well.
Oh.
On top of it.
So I'm about halfway through Feast for Crows. Is that the fourth book?
Yes.
You know, it's pretty slow. Like because of the way I'm reading them, I feel like I'm enjoying it fine. But I'm trying to put myself in the state of mind from someone who waited like 6 years for that book and knew they were gonna have to wait like another decade for another one. And I think I'd be like a little miffed. I get it.
Yeah,
it's like,
I think that's really where all that
there's
disdain
so
comes from.
much momentum at the end of the third book with the story. Like things are happening, characters are like off in all these directions, and you expect it to start turning back and coalesce again, and instead the fourth book is just a total divergent from all that. Like there's just But at the same time,
Are
it's
you
kind
talking about Game of Thrones again?
Yeah, it's interesting because like it's about the aftermath of book 3, basically. You know what I mean? It's like you really get to see how the world has ground to a halt, and it's like, you know, like literally Feast for Crows, right? It's about like all the dead bodies just laying around everywhere from the war. And the whole book they keep talking about like all the crows feeding on dead bodies, but it's a lot for 1,000 pages or whatever the hell that book is. I'm waiting.
You're a feast.
I mean, I'm just impressed by how fast you're reading it.
I'm not reading it very fast, but thank you.
I mean, I'm pretty impressed. It's not taking you like a whole year to get through it.
I know, no, that is, yeah, thank you. All right, off the top, we got year-end lists. John?
Yeah, voting is ongoing.
I
have a provisional list, which I'm not...
Cool. Well, let's talk about the show. We can talk
we'll
about book club and the 2018 challenge. Do we have any lists about stuff we're going to potentially try to squeeze in? We got, what, like one more week probably?
No, I think we have at least 2 more weeks. We really got to try to get Shape of Water in. It's really just a question of if people can see it or not.
We already had that conversation. We cannot.
I'm going to be out of town for Christmas week, so I feel like we should maybe try to squeeze in like one more week and then the year-ender.
Doesn't it come? It came out last week, didn't it?
Yeah, it came out on Friday.
All right. Okay, hold on. There's 2 conversations happening right now.
Oh shit, that reminds me. I gotta get my phone.
Water. It was Shape of Water was released limited this week, and I think it's going to expand next week. So like, I really do think we got to try to see it. I mean, if we can't see it, we can't see it. But like, it's going to be absurd because it's one of those things where it's like almost definitely going to be on people's top 10s, and no one's going to have seen it. The
People think of us.
Those we have left, like, well, today is the 4th, right? So like, if we record next week, that's the 11th or 12th, and then it's like the 19th or the 20th, and then it's the week after Christmas. Last year we recorded the year-ender on the 26th, I believe.
I will not. I will be out of town. We're out of town, so that's gonna.
Yeah, I mean, Eric, I recorded it for my in-laws last year. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, but I have to be here for us to do a podcast.
So you're saying we can't do it if you're not at your house?
I don't see any way, no.
All right. So we really only
Besides, most sites now put out their year-end stuff, like, pretty early. Right?
I mean,
there's like legitimately 10 movies that we haven't seen that probably we should have seen.
I mean,
I know, but we watched this movie, and now I'm like really upset that there's like literally 10 movies that are.
2 things. Why don't we just do the year-end show like the week after?
Well, that's why we could kick it to January. Because
come on, because nobody cares. Nobody cares about 2017 by the time you hit January. It's over.
Yeah, but I don't. Eric,
literally, we're all saying that we can't do it at the end of the month, so
we just do it earlier. I mean, how many movies are we legitimately going to get in? You're talking one less movie, basically.
I don't think it matters the movies we get. I think it's a matter of actually getting the lists from all the writers and having that compiled.
Yes, exactly.
Second thing, where do you see Shape of Water going wide this weekend?
Well, it released this week. I'm just assuming it's going to increase in distribution this
I'm
coming week because it's
Fairly sure you are assuming wrong.
pretty good.
I
mean,
don't have
okay,
it still.
we'll see.
Oh, I love it when mom and dad fight.
Because I think it only went to like 1,000 theaters, right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have it last week.
It looks like it only opened in 2 theaters this weekend.
2? No, it
That-
played like in Chicago, like downtown, but nowhere out by me.
I mean, we had it in 3 theaters in Atlanta.
Hold on, I'm pulling up the weekend thing. It says it opened in 2 theaters, but that was probably the week before.
Hmm.
According to this, their plan was to open in one market on December 1st, which was Friday. So there's got to go wider than that, I would think.
Well, I mean, it's definitely gonna go wider. Like, it's like a bit. That's what I'm saying. It's like a pretty big movie. Box Office Mojo is like legit, just like not loading for me right now. Yeah, it's funny. Like on Box Office Mojo, it says it was in 2 theaters this weekend.
All right,
With-
let's see. What day's
Ridiculous,
Christmas is
that's-
Monday.
but-
We're driving back the 26th because I have to work on the 27th. So I guess theoretically I can do anytime after the 27th. So I guess we could squeeze it in at the end of that week.
Hey, look at us. We're making things
Yeah, I
happen.
mean, I'm not working that whole week, so like literally we could
Yeah,
record it
me
in the middle of
either.
the day.
Ditto.
I'm gone that. I mean, I'm here that week also. So if you need me,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm off that whole week, so like John's middle of the day remark, I could do that too.
All right, so we got 2 weeks then to fit stuff in. And then, people are welcome to, if we can get the list of things we think we should see, people are welcome to try to check them out on their own if they want. Could
Yeah,
always
also
get
there's like
Casey
a
on
bunch
that.
of shit that Shelton sent through. A couple of them are like streamable, so they're like low hanging fruit. And
Do I need to
then-
watch the Bye Bye Man?
No, no.
Just
Only,
your
only if you
worst
want to fill
man.
out your worst list.
Yeah, I only have 2 things on my worst list right now. So, but like I'm not gonna watch anything just to get it on.
All right,
there,
well let's
obviously.
start the show and we can talk about it on the show.
All
I
right,
think
all
we
right.
have our basic plan. All right, we're recording. You can mute when you're ready.
Welcome to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be reviewing Better Watch Out, a movie that's set on Christmas because, Step 3 profit. I don't know. I am the host of Bloody Good Horror. Joining me tonight, we're back, y'all. First up, the business manager of BloodyGoodHorror.com. His name is John Schnorrs.
Hello, Eric.
Hello, Eric, as he sips his sherry, fava beans.
It's a white wine tonight.
I was a
You missed it,
oh
I think.
my
earlier.
God. Look at that soccer mom ass glass of wine you have. That's amazing.
Dear God. Is that a Pinot
It's just a
Grigio?
normal glass of wine.
There's nothing normal about that,
it's
Schnars.
I forget what
Next
it is.
up on the-
Is that
Chenin
a
Blanc, I
fucking
believe.
Pinot Grigio, you menopause having motherfucker?
Next up on the show, he drinks beer because he's a man. He lives in Chicago. His name is Joe.
I'm actually drinking water tonight, but you know.
That's fine. That's better than what Schnars is drinking.
no gin and tonic.
No,
This
no.
is pretty tasty.
Joe, I'm drinking cinnamon tea, and it's manlier than what John's drinking.
Tis the season.
Next up on the show, coming to you from Indiana, he vapes. His name is Casey.
Hi.
How's it going, Casey?
Pretty good. How are you?
Vapor in chief, Casey.
Yes.
Next up on the show, last up on the show tonight, she is the queen of books of Bloody Good Horror. Please welcome Cece to the show.
Hello.
And I think Mark might be joining us later, but he does this thing now where he just shows up whenever he wants. So we'll see.
Eric, he is a child. All right, come
Yeah.
on.
Dad
Oh,
life.
I know.
Come on.
I haven't been up to my waist in vomit for 48 hours or anything. But I'm here, John. You know why?
Oh, Christ.
Because this is important to me.
I don't know. You're a professional?
That's right.
Care.
I'm a
Does you
GD
care?
professional. All right, guys. 2017. John Schnars, what does that mean is coming up?
Whew. Eric, we are coming down the home stretch here of another year of Bloody Good Horror, and we're very close to putting out our best of 2017. You know, we were debating before the show whether or not people are sitting around waiting for BGH best of 20, like define their year. They may or may not be, but we're gonna take as much time as is legally allowed in the calendar year 2017 to put out our best list because we are completists, and we also want people to have the most time to explore everything that there is in horror cinema 2017. So
I promise you
I don't
this,
know, I think we're
Schnars.
looking at now like
I promise you
What's
this.
that?
I will not be watching any movie that we don't do on the show.
I
I may,
mean-
however, go back and watch A Dark Song again because I have some deliberations to do in my head.
I love that you're gonna rewatch a movie to see if it's like number 1 or number like 2 or 3, as opposed to like see a movie that
If
maybe could sneak
listen,
in there. But I don't
Listen,
know.
if Better Watch Out proves anything, if a movie was that good, people would have suggested it a long time ago, and we would have watched it, and it would have been good.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's funny. We were talking about it. We've been asking, I would say not demanding, but we've been requesting recommendations. Have gotten a lot of things that we've seen or things that we'd covered earlier in the year, or things that we have kind of looked. And then John Shelton, of course, drops into our Slack with like 4 or 5 foreign 2017 releases, all of which have been released and are some of which are even streaming in the U.S. now.
Thanks,
that all
Shelton.
look pretty
That
good.
was a very helpful list on December 1st.
Yeah, it's like, come
Thanks
on,
for
guy.
that.
Come on, brah.
Our,
But yeah,
like,
so there's a bunch of things to check out.
I equate our listener or viewer recommendations to KFC, whereas it takes me like a couple months before I forget like how it burns me, and then I end up going back, and then immediately after I'm like, oh, that's
You know what's
right.
funny? I feel like in the past of Bloody Good Horror, listener recommendations were always real solid. But like something about the last 2 years, it's just gone. Like I feel like it's a crapshoot every time we get a bunch of people recommending
Jesus, y'all.
something.
God, yeah, we're really running down the listeners. No, it's
Listen.
no, you know what it is?
If they were doing their job, we wouldn't have to do that.
Been a
don't- it-
democratization.
Isn't
Well,
this our job?
There's been a
to watch shitty
democratization
movies?
of the indie scene has disappeared, right? Like it's basically like there's just this I don't know blend of
It's like AAA
things that are straight-
movies, and then Mark Duplass, and then that's it.
I mean,
yeah, it's a very weird mix right now, and so we've gotten some recommendations, some of like earlier in the year that were really good. It's just that now as we get toward the end of the year, there's not that same like undiscovered territory that there's been in the past.
I mean, The Babysitter was a recommendation, and I think we all I like that a lot. I mean, it's a valid point because as we found out a couple weeks ago, we're kind of getting towards the end, and we've seen a lot of things as we saw in our recommendations, which were 75% of movies we had already seen.
Lots of thought being put into it,
Which again, thanks guys. But yeah, you're 100% right. Like we're kind of getting down to the end here. God knows where it'll take us.
We're really gonna try to get to The Shape of Water, which, for those of you keeping score, that is Guillermo del Toro's new thing. It's been getting. I mean, I must have seen the trailer, I don't know, 10 times in
all
the theater.
over TV, all over the theater, yeah. And then I'm like, I went to look at this last Friday. I'm like, yep, it's not playing.
Yeah, so there was a hot discussion before the show about whether or not it's expanding. It got a very limited release. It looks like it's probably going to be in some more theaters, but it's still unclear on how many of us are going to get to see it. So hopefully we'll get to that. And
This is just like the conversation before. Like John just openly makes up line. Like it's definitely going to be in more theaters. I'm confirming that, even though I've seen that nowhere.
Joe, so Joe, your premise is they're spending millions of dollars on TV ads to not expand it to more theaters. That's the premise.
All right, your premise is I've seen and read this nowhere. I'm just fucking pulling out of my ass. So it's
I know,
fact.
Mark. I know.
Much like the fact that we were going to
That's
be able to
my
see it
premise.
last week, John.
You guys.
Well, yeah, because I thought it was coming out this week.
There's
But-
the word. Thought.
Bunch of scamps, you two.
Well.
All right. Cece,
Yes.
good Lord, save us here. What's happening with the book club?
Well, we are currently reading The Lure of the Devouring Light by Michael Griffin. And next week, we will have the 2018 book challenge posted on our Goodreads, as well as all of the books for the 2018 readings. So you can add those to your last minute Christmas lists and get those out of your way.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cece,
Yes.
nice work.
I was ready this time.
I like it.
Look, I had my art show.
That's cool.
I got past it.
How-
I'm good to go.
How did your art show go, by the way?
It was great. I sold 10 out of 15 pieces.
Get
Nice.
the fuck out of here.
I picture
Yeah.
your art.
Um,
I picture your art kind of being like the stuff they have in their house in Beetlejuice.
I mean, a little maybe. I've posted it on Instagram,
I
but
just-
it's not that dark.
No, I've seen it. I just wanted to make a Beetlejuice joke. That's all.
I mean, I would like for some of it to look like the Beetlejuice house stuff because that makes a lot of money, but
There you go.
we'll see. Maybe eventually.
Nice. So if people want to hook up with the book club, they can. There's a tab on the site, and then where else they can find us on Goodreads.
Yes, it's you can go to Goodreads, just type in Bloody Good Horror and it'll show up, or follow the tab from the website.
Nice. I'm reading Christine currently.
So good.
It's-
Christine is one of my absolute favorites, and I'm still mad Casey got the VHS
It's
at the reunion.
it's very slow. Like
It is, but
I'm only reading it at night before I go to bed, so I've only been reading like like not that much at a time, and I'm still like
Mhm.
literally he hasn't even made it home from buying the car yet, and I'm just like,
Oh, yeah.
sweet Jesus.
have you?
Lord.
have you-
what I got.
Got it in
No!
hardcover, right?
Yeah, so I don't have the jacket on right now, but this is the sweet.
Nice.
Oh wow.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
too big.
It's pretty cool. It's very large, and the text is not big enough as I would like to be. So there you go. That's the best thing about the Kindle.
Kindle.
The best thing about the Kindle is I can just crank it up to like old person text size. It's the best.
I'm impressed. I'm.
You
my
know,
heart is full.
as
Eric.
I've said
So full.
multiple times on this show this year, 2017 was an unmitigated awful dumpster fire of a year. And if there's any proof of that, it's that I am reading fiction. That's pretty much all
Well,
you need to know. And I'm
It's
reading.
normally when it's a dumpster fire, you have to read fiction to forget about the dumpster fire.
Yeah, there you go. So that works, turns out, sorta. And at night, I'm also reading. I'm reading Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone to my daughter.
So let me get this straight. You're reading 3 books at the same time right now.
Yes, that's literally.
I think that we just need to take a moment and appreciate that.
It's literally never happened in my life, so that's cool. Joe,
Yes.
stop. Do me a favor. Stop
Yeah.
continuing your argument with Schnars in the chat, and please give us this week's beer recommendation.
Well, to be fair, John.
Beer guts.
I only had to text Schnars like 4 times before he shut his video off.
He's
Guys,
gone
I
haywire.
put my fucking phone on silent so it doesn't distract me. I'm a professional, Eric. Come on.
Spilling all that fancy wine all over your computer, and now it's going all haywire.
Oh Christ.
Fancy box. So better watch out. A film or movie that takes place around the holidays. Christmas being the the one of our Lord. Not we'll kind of get into it, but not really a key element in the film. But because it is the holidays and because it's one of my favorite times of beer, I picked one that I'm a big fan of from the fine folks at Bell's Brewing Company. That's in Kalamazoo, Michigan. For you keeping track at home, this is their Christmas ale. that they put out every year. That's what we call seasonal kids. I'm surprised. This is the first Bell's beer I have done for Bloody Good Horror, and I'm a big fan of all the stuff that they do. Their Christmas ale is a Scotch ale, or what's sometimes
Ooh.
referred to as a wee heavy. Pretty much what that means is the boiling process goes a good amount longer than your typical beer. So it starts to actually caramelize and maybe even like almost burn some of those malts and like the wort that's going on there. So there's a ton of malts in this, but you get sort of that roasted flavor also. This one has a little more of a hot bite than you usually get from some other Scotch ales, but I really like it. They put it out every year, and every year it's a solid pick, and I'm a big fan. Everything they put out though is great. I'm sure these guys distribute pretty far throughout the U.S., so you can probably find their stuff in your neck of the woods. Bellsbeer.com is their website. This one comes in at a little over 7, like 7.5% alcohol. So, it'll warm you up on a summer or on a winter night. But
Get your season straight there, buddy.
To step back a bit, but when the wife and I first started dating, I used to just get tanked and then go out and do our Christmas shopping in Manhattan. And I feel like this is the perfect type of beer to drink like a 6-pack and then just go to Macy's and deal with all the assholes there and get all your shit out of the way. So go do that when you get a chance. And yeah.
I'll tell you what, Joe, I can't actually remember the last time I went Christmas shopping.
Oh, I was talking to Leslie about this. We were driving home and we drove past the mall and it was just like freaking packed. And I'm like, what? With Amazon and online, like, what the hell does this anymore?
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, I don't do any of that. My wife does, so there you go.
I will maybe get up at like 5 a.m. on a Saturday.
Oh my god.
I didn't say I made her do it. I just said she does it. It's just like a natural division of labor. I don't know.
There is like a certain thrill of getting up at like 5 a.m. on a Saturday and going to Target and just like doing like the small stuff you need. Like I enjoy that before like Bedlam breaks out, but
Yeah.
actual shopping, no, absolutely not.
No, I pay to have my groceries delivered to me, so I'm not going to buy Christmas presents either.
Isn't that the best?
Oh, it is legit
Yeah.
my favorite thing.
Do you tip the guy? You have to, right?
Yeah.
How much?
Well, I use
What are you, a
Instacart.
monster?
Well,
Not tipping.
I mean, like between 10 and 15%, depending on how many times my
Oh,
cart
that's a
is
rich
messed
people
up.
tip. I'm like whatever ones I have in my wallet. That's
We-
what they're
Well,
getting. I'm sorry.
15% like on a grocery order, like that could get up to
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
$20.
It
Yeah, it's
can.
too
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
It's too much.
Oh,
But I
no,
don't
no,
want
no,
them to
no.
spit in my food.
We did it one time. The last time when
They
we
can
were
spit on the outside of my Cheerios all
Yeah,
day.
like it's not like a restaurant where he's gonna open up your Wheaties, take a
Well,
dump, and then
if you
close
get
it back
fresh meat, or if you get like fresh vegetables, they can still spit on that.
Is
Do you
it
think the
unwrapped?
delivery
I'm
guy
very
is, like,
confused now.
up. Butchering the steak for you and then wrapping
No,
it up.
I mean he doesn't.
Yeah,
get
you
it-
think he's
I've
gonna
seen
dig through your bag
it-
to unwrap the plastic?
Yeah,
and...
I'm texting him and being like, "This isn't what I ordered." He's gonna be like, "Well, you know what? I'm gonna spit on this."
He doesn't get a tip till
God.
the end.
Do what?
You don't give the tip till the end, right?
Stuff to
Well,
work.
the tip, but like I talk to them while they're shopping because they have to send if with Instacart, if you don't have something that if the store doesn't have something you requested, they have to like text you pictures
Really?
for
Wow.
replacements. Yeah,
That job sounds like a nightmare.
it's a nightmare. I feel
As
really
as someone
bad.
as someone who was a cashier and bagged groceries at a
Yeah.
grocery store, like that
That's
was
why they get a good tip. I'm like, you're having to like send 12 pictures of different types of chicken in
well.
the
So that's
aisle,
why
so-
that's why we don't really do it, because I would feel too guilty and tip way too much, and then it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, it's still worth it because I can do a meal plan better that way. If I go to the grocery store, I spend like
Oh yeah.
a bunch.
All
of-
bets are off at that point.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's terrible.
I'll go for one item, and next thing I know, I'm coming back and I have like 15 things, and I've spent $100. It's terrible.
Giant man-child.
We haven't gone the delivery route yet, but we do the pickup at Kroger's for the clip
Oh, yeah.
list, which is pretty great.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
that-
still have to carry it in, so that sucks.
Although now that I have a kid, it's like sometimes just me walking around a grocery store is the only quiet I get all weekend. So
That's the best.
yeah, Just
I
like-
100% agree.
yeah, Joe's with
I
me.
thought you were going to say that's the only time you get to flirt is when you take the kid into the grocery store with
Casey,
you.
Casey, I legitimately wouldn't even know how to do that if I had the opportunity. So there you go. All right, guys, it is time. Let us take a quick break and review. Better watch out.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time, bitch.
Main feature.
back. John Schnars.
Yes, Eric.
Words.
I was hoping for more of a
Words
pause there, like a real
Words.
dramatic pause.
are what brings us together today. No,
Mm.
I got nothing. John Schnars, you went to Duke. You know words. So every week we have you bring us words. So please let us do that right now. What do you got for us today, John?
Eric, today's word is governess.
Oh.
Governess. A woman employed to teach children in a private household. It is a synonym for babysitter, or at least according to the old synonyms website. I don't know if I would really buy that, but I thought it was an interesting word nonetheless. It comes to us from the Middle English, the word governess, meaning denoting a female ruler, which I thought was nice, and originally from the Latin gubernator. You can probably guess what that means. So yeah, governess. Yeah.
Eric's drinking a nice cinnamon tea, right?
Yeah.
Cinnamon.
Wow. All right. Nice work, John.
Thank you.
Good job. What's this movie about?
This is the second movie in, I would say, 3 episodes. I was not on the babysitter episode, but in a very recent vintage that features the relationship between a prepubescent boy and his babysitter.
Get over it, Hollywood dudes. That's all I'm saying.
Wait, what was the one before the babysitter?
No,
No,
well,
those
the
were the two.
babysitter and then this movie.
Oh, I thought you said 3.
Well, I thought it was of the last 3. In any event, yeah, it is a story about a kid whose name I should probably have looked up, but he is 12, going on 13, and he is in love with his babysitter, and she is coming over because his parents, somewhat bizarrely played by Virginia Madsen and Patrick Warburton. They're like the only 2 names in the film, but his parents are going out, and Luke is his name. Luke is going to be watched by his babysitter Ashley. He has a somewhat nerdier friend who he is telling in the first couple of sequences that tonight's the night. He's going to like hook up with this babysitter girlfriend or babysitter friend or whatever. And so she comes over, and it becomes, in the first act, a kind of straight home invasion film. And they are being sort of stalked, or there's people kind of outside the house. There's things that are moving around. There's bumps in the night. And it kind of pivots quickly from there, right at the end of the first act. I'm kind of curious, like, where do you guys want to draw the line here? Because there's a couple of big turns that are worth.
Well, we can't really talk about it unless we really get into it, but we could just start generally, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
just be warned, fair, gentle people, there will be spoilers to follow.
I was gonna say, like, the main spoiler, to your point, like, you could not talk about this movie without kind of like spoiling the initial. There's basically a big twist at Act 1 that then tees up the rest of the film, and I won't get into it until I guess we give our reactions, but yeah, it's pretty material.
Hey Joe.
Yeah, what's up, G?
What'd you think of this movie?
I was not a giant fan of this one. I mean, it's funny, we didn't even talk about it over email, but when we were talking about the babysitter, I think one of the points we said was like that kid was way too old to be having a babysitter, and in this one I feel like it's even more apparent. Like at one point they say like what, she's like 5 years older than him, soon to like only be like 4 years older. Like that even just felt strange because she looks like maybe she's in reality like a couple years older than him.
I don't know, Joe. You know those millennials, they need babysitters.
Maybe, you know, it's a thing where they just pay her to like hang out and be nice. But I don't know, and we talked a lot about it over email. Like the babysitter herself, like doesn't really have much of a story to her. They don't, and we'll kind of talk about that turn, but like something kind of snaps at one point, and like they don't give a ton of background as to like why that's happening. The main kid, I wasn't a huge fan of. I found him to be like a little obnoxious, which I get is potentially what they were going for. But overall, I kind of felt like this was a little bit of a dud. Like I didn't hate it, but by no means will it like make my best of list or anything.
Casey.
Let's see. I'd never seen a trailer for this. I'd heard CC and Sophie talking about it. Never seen the trailer. Didn't know what I was getting into. By the end of it, I enjoyed myself, but it's not necessarily a movie that I thought was mind-blowingly great or anything. There was just some stuff that I appreciated the twists that they came up with. I wasn't expecting this movie to go the direction it went, so that was a nice surprise. But yes, like Joe said, I was not a big fan of like the lead actor. The kid is very punchable, which is part of the, that's the point. I get it, but the only person, well, I can't even say. I'm going to refer back to Joe's email earlier today. When you have Patrick Warburton on a show, you keep him on screen. You don't send him off to a weekend getaway or anything like that.
Well, so I mean, I guess I suppose it's the nature of babysitting, but they have the exact same parental roles as in The Babysitter, where they show up, crack a couple jokes in the beginning, and then they're back at the end. The only difference is in The Babysitter, you have the sad handjob scene.
Yeah, like they kind of splice in. Like I feel like, and this is ridiculous, but I just love Patrick Warburton. I felt like they could have used like splicing some of him in a little more.
I couldn't
Just
remember.
like, what are the parents up to at their dinner?
Yeah. Let's watch something interesting, which might be the parents.
Yo, I love.
Well, we didn't really get to hear.
So
I would have loved to have seen his reaction shot to the carnage when it got back. Instead, we just had a couple screams, and that was about it. So he would have had something good for sure.
Yeah. John Schnars.
Yeah, so I literally knew nothing about this film, like nothing. Not only had I not seen a trailer, but I couldn't even describe what it was about. I knew that it was a Christmas movie, and it's funny because the one thing I knew was like the thing that was least material to the actual viewing of the film. I ended up being like pleasantly surprised that it was fairly like well done film. I thought the direction was decent. I thought the script was okay. It's a little wonky. I mean, we should get into the act 1 to rest of the film. Why
don't you bring us through the turn once you get given your opinion? Yeah.
So that turn, and then kind of like how that tees up the rest of the film is obviously like, it's like, what if you can put up with that or kind of appreciate that, it kind of determines what you do or don't like about it. I thought like for the most part the acting was decent. So it's funny, we were talking about how the nerdy friend Garrett is the main kid from The Visit. He plays the kid from The Visit. The girl, the babysitter, is the sister in The Visit.
Okay.
All right. No kidding.
I didn't put that together, but I was like, where do I know her from?
Yeah, so it's funny because it is the main two.
Well, you see her less, right? Because she's typically the camera person in The Visit.
Yeah, and he's like kind of the more front of camera dude. But no, so overall, like I and even like a lot of this hangs on the kid who's being babysat, Luke, and he's probably the most accomplished, quote unquote, actor of the three of them. He played Peter Pan in the Pan film that came out, so he's like someone who
it's Joe's favorite.
Is kind of like,
got him.
Yeah, but no, I mean, like, I don't know, like they're all competent, they're all believable. I actually was like really pleased to see the guy who's in Stranger Things 2. He's in this for like a hot second before he gets hanged. That dude I really like and would like to see him in more things. So I don't know, like I went into this with very low expectations and ended up being like surprised pleasantly, but not in like a way where I was like, wow, this is a great movie. It was just like, oh, this wasn't terrible. Like, okay.
Well, bring us through that first act thing and then we can really kind of dig in here.
Yeah, so the whole setup is that Luke is trying to hook up with his babysitter, and the first act turn is that this home invasion setup is actually something that he has staged with his friend to try to make himself be the hero, which would then allow him to hook up with the babysitter. It's funny because like if I were to go back and rewatch this, like maybe this is telegraphed a little better than I remember, but I remember being like not really believing it when it happened. But there is some conversation in the first act between Garrett and Luke around like sort of like how he's gonna like pull this off, and like Garrett being like, oh, I don't think it's possible. But long story short, she sort of uncovers it because the whole thing hangs on Garrett stomping around the house with a shotgun and yada yada. It immediately then swings to Luke, not just like being unhappy that this fell apart and she's like very upset with him. He basically hits her. She falls down the stairs and is like unconscious, and then she wakes up and she is tied up, and he is converted into sort of like full-blown like psychopath or like sociopath mode, whichever version of that you would prefer, and is now orchestrating this like massive cover-up wherein he's going to drug her so that she will basically like not remember anything. And he's going to orchestrate this whole thing where
Shit gets weird from there, basically.
yeah, like people like her boyfriend shows up, and that causes problems, and it like gets increasingly more grotesque and sort of and gory from there.
It spirals. Things go bad.
Yeah. Well, it spirals, but each time along the way, you're kind of like meant to. You are asked to believe that he is somehow like in control. This like 13-year-old or 12-year-old psychopath person is like in control of the situation,
Right.
and kind of like orchestrating it, even as it is like trying to spiral out of his control.
When he literally has a squeaky voice.
Yes.
Him rage squeaking at the end of the movie like made me legitimately laugh out loud. Like, and I think it was supposed to be maybe fun. I don't know. It was funny. So, Cece, I'm sorry that I skipped you. Do you forgive me?
That's okay.
What did you think of this movie?
So I hadn't seen any trailers or really heard anything about it, and I watched it before watching The Babysitter on the same night, and
Oh wow.
I pleasantly enjoyed it. I think that it's a on the surface a very well done, like the cinematography is really well done. I really liked the kid actor. I get that he's super obnoxious, but you know, he wasn't as obnoxious as say the Babadook kid. So I thought that, you know, he was kind of going for the Patrick Bateman vibe. And I mean, I get that you had to suspend a little bit of your belief in the fact that yes, he's 13 and he's orchestrated this entire, you know, contingency plan that if his babysitter rejects him, that he's going to, you know, have all these other things laid out to basically, you know, punish her for that. But I liked it. I thought that, you know, it's a good kind of half paying attention, half into time. Although I will say the longer that y'all started talking about it in the email, I was like, all right, well, there's a lot of holes here. And
That's what we do, Cece. We
obviously
ruin
I was
things.
not paying that good attention to it. But I mean, I did enjoy it. I didn't think, I mean, it won't be on my top list, but I thought that, I mean, I enjoyed it while it was on.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's very competently directed.
It
is
is.
what I would say.
Yeah,
Sure.
And like the cinematography for a film that is shot entirely in one house is like pretty good, and like all of it is like well done. It's just like, yeah, it's like it's increasingly implausible and like kind of ridiculous, and you know, some of the like I think a lot of the flaws end up falling back on the script and on the idea in a way that they like it's hard to imagine a better version of this exact script, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I can agree with that, because I think that the times that I had problems with it, it seemed like the lines that Luke, or kind of the dialogue between Luke and his friend, is where it fell flat, where I was like, I feel like something was cut here, or something needed to be fleshed out. So I think I can agree with this.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the character stuff, right? That's not fully fleshed out. Like, I agree, it's pretty well directed. There's a lot of situational tension that's actually really well done. Stuff where either people are tied up or they're being stalked, or you know, stuff like that, where the camera work and the editing, it all works really well to kind of make these scenes fun. And especially too, as everything is escalating and spiraling out of control, that stuff's a lot of fun. I really can't get over the premise, and I'm not sure if this movie suffers because for me, because we just saw The Babysitter, but I was skeeved out by the babysitter relationship in that movie, and in this movie, it's 1,000 times worse. He literally like first he wants to try to get her drunk. He lunges at her to try to make out with her. This is his babysitter. And then
he's 12, like, to be clear.
And then gets mad and pouty when she won't kiss him, like he's like a men's rights activist or something. No, like
Are
listen.
you saying that's something that a lot of 12-year-olds do?
No, John. Like I understand the point that he's immature, right? But I think like
Yeah.
that, like, and it's the point of the character because
I mean, it was
he
outrageous,
basically
just
turns out to be a little psycho, right? So it's like I'm not necessarily. I don't have a problem with the character. I have a problem with the premise. Like I don't want to watch it. Like in
Right, well, I think
2017,
that-
with everything
feel
going on, the last thing I need is a movie about a kid with a boner who's mad because his babysitter won't kiss him, and so he literally murders people.
That's fair.
Like it's
Yeah.
literally a
I-
movie
I
about
agree.
toxic masculinity.
You make an interesting point. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
just
I
like
think that if they were still gonna go with the plot that this movie had, that I would have liked to have seen why he all of a sudden thought that like tonight is the night, and that he had
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
like why was this his plan, besides the fact that she had said she was leaving for college, like that.
Yeah.
and beyond that though, like but with like exactly the point is why, and that's what's missing from the script is. Okay, you want me to believe that a perfectly otherwise supposedly normal 12-year-old kid would do this because really, I mean, kind of what we find out, and I guess we can wait a little bit on this, but like, or whatever, I don't really care. We kind of find out that like his plan is pretty nefarious all along, right? You're getting strung along through the movie thinking that, oh, it's just out of his control, but at some point, everybody kind of realizes like, oh no, this is kind of what he intended. But
Right.
literally, the script makes zero attempt to explain to me why he's crazy. Like, did his
Well, we
parents
get
treat him
this-
weird? Like, I don't know.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
because like his mom
Very
doesn't
similar.
like hug him and like tuck him into bed anymore.
You
or so-
know?
I don't know. I'm just telling you, he's got mommy issues.
My
It
mom
was
also didn't tuck me into bed
implied.
when I was 12. I think he should just probably
No,
get over
But
that.
there's that weird
didn't.
part where she's like, I know why she doesn't tuck you in anymore, and like they leave that as kind of like this hanging thing
Well-
out there, never kind of explained.
Yeah,
I guess,
and he
like,
was killing animals, like he was killing his friend's pet rat, and I mean,
Yeah,
I just,
it
like-
sounded like he
hamster.
had like the psychopathic triad, like he had been doing some messed up shit beforehand.
It's
But I
just
feel like
I
they tried
didn't
to
even
toss
pick
that
up on
whole
that.
like hamster thing out, or the fact that like he killed some pet
Right.
as like the entire reasoning. Like, well,
Yeah.
he did that, so
Yeah.
you get it why he's doing.
I
this
don't
thing.
know what kind of shit these dudes who are writing these movies are trying to work out with these babysitter fantasies, but like I'm good, man. I don't need to see more of it. I'm good.
Wasn't that kind of a thing in the 80s, though? Like in some of the 80s horror movies? I
Oh.
can't think of them off the top of my head, though. But
I mean, look, I'm not like having a crush on an older babysitter is like obvious. I mean, if you have a babysitter when you're that old.
no, I'm saying is that-
Eric, you were telling us about your 112-year-old babysitter earlier.
Yeah.
So.
She was the best.
yeah, I'm saying isn't it a bit of a throwback though to kind of like an 80s theme? But
Well-
I may be over remembering that.
I don't remember any.
I remember the babysitter being a thing, but I don't remember like
Yeah,
it's more. I remember more of like the Halloween where it's like little kids having like a teenage
right.
babysitter.
Yeah, I
Shit.
guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's true.
yeah.
Not like teenagers having another teenager
Yeah.
as their babysitter.
Not like 15-year-olds having a 17-year-old
But
babysitter.
I don't know. It's just freaking weird. And like specifically the scene where he lunges at her is like the most uncomfortable thing I
Oh,
maybe
it's
watched
awful.
all year. It's bizarre.
So
I mean, because
Weinstein
that shit
production.
happens. It's I was like, it's bizarre because that shit is like that's real. Like it was
Yeah.
super
Sure.
awkward and
Yes.
uncomfortable because that's it.
6 months ago, we wouldn't even have been questioning this, guys.
Yeah.
Just think about it.
I mean,
That's how it
I
works,
think if
John.
you're old enough to try something like that, maybe you're old enough to not have a babysitter.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
You're old enough to go to
drinking.
jail
Old enough
for
to,
sexual
like,
harassment.
Yes, I
He's-
think you need a lot of additional help there.
He's drinking. He knows how to shoot a gun. There's this
the
other
question-
thread. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the question of whether, like, the movie really does hang on whether you buy him as a, like, truly, like, psychopathic
Yeah.
kind of,
It's a little
like,
much.
misanthropic killer or not. And, like, to your point, or whoever made the point, like, the movie doesn't give you a ton to kind of work with there, except for these kind of like references to the friend's rat or whatever. There's like enough like weird stuff that's going on. Like he has the noise machine, but it makes like the sound of like his mom's womb. You know,
Yeah, it's
like
a heartbeat.
and I think it does like this is where like the open question for me is whether this movie is supposed to be a black comedy or not. If it is, and we've seen like lots of black comedies,
It's not very funny.
it's not. It's just not funny. That's like the problem with it. And
Yeah.
and so like I think they probably there's a version of this film or a script that is a little funnier, and maybe I actually have only seen about 60% of The Babysitter, the other film, and that movie was actually funny. Like there was like elements of that were just like actually funny, versus this is like I don't know. It wants to play it a little straighter, but like I don't know. Are you supposed to just laugh at the fact that this straight-laced looking white dude is murdering a bunch of people to try to set up this whole thing and thinking he's going to get away with it? It's not funny in and of itself.
Oddly enough, I also had a Virginia Madsen womb sound machine when I was a kid, so I thought that was kind of like a nice throwback.
What were some of the scenes that we liked?
Like you said, all of the kind of mayhem and like when things start unraveling, like right after the twist, I was like, oh, okay, I'm kind of paying attention now. So
Yeah.
I liked that section of the
I was
movie.
actually really interested in the friend and the fact that like each step of the way the friend sort of had to make a decision whether he was still in or not, because the friend clearly like wasn't in on this whole plan, and that stuff was pretty interesting, and I felt like they actually could have explored that a little more, like how tortured
I
their
thought
friendship
he was great.
was.
Actually,
Yeah.
I agree. Like I would have loved to have seen like more. Honestly, if this movie focused on him versus the kid that they did, like I thought that would have been.
It was
a
an
lot more
interesting turning of the
Yeah.
tables too, right? Because in the beginning, the friend's kind of making fun of him, and you're led to believe in the very beginning that friend sort of has the upper hand in the power dynamic in the friendship, and then the way that gets flipped on its head once the shit goes down is actually really interesting to watch.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and that friend is like talking about smoking weed. He's kind of the more mature of the two of them, but yeah,
As he's talking about smoking weed.
Well, he seems to be like the cooler one, like the one who's,
he's also not deluded into thinking he's gonna hook up with his 17-year-old babysitter.
yeah, like
I mean,
he tells him numerous times, like, you're an idiot for thinking, even, contemplating this.
Yeah.
I did like the. Oh, sorry, Casey.
I was just gonna agree with Sophie, but or not Sophie. I'm sorry, with Cece. They
all look alike to you, don't
Yeah,
I
we're
know.
interchangeable.
they all look the same. They
oh boy,
that whole I thought like the twist was kind of like had 2 or 3 layers to it, because at first they revealed when there's people breaking into the house, and then you find out it was his buddy Garrett, and they had this prank trying to scare her, stuff like that. And I thought, oh, well, that's interesting, but what else they gonna do? And then they went the whole sociopath angle, and then I'm like, oh, I wasn't expecting them to go there. So
It's
I
mean, it's
did like
definitely
that aspect
I
of the
did
script.
too.
it's definitely a pretty big swerve when it happens for me anyway, because I was sort of just expecting it as they want you to play out as pretty basic home invasion-y kind of thing.
Yeah,
like there's this whole scene that's a nod to Home Alone, which they kind of reference in the beginning. I thought was really like, if there was any quote unquote comedy in this, like I thought that is where they could have gotten it. And I wish, and we talked about it over email, like I wish they would have expanded on that more, because they make a point to reference it at the beginning, and then he decides to try out the like paint can trick. And like I feel like that could have been something that they could have like expanded on more and would have made this a lot
I
more.
would watch an entire movie that was literally just like an homage to Home Alone, but a horror
like a
movie.
true life, like this is what's really
But a horror
happening.
movie,
so
yeah.
the one point I was gonna make, because I agree that
Like
was
give me
actually one of my
every
favorite
scene.
sequences.
Give me the icy steps and the thing on fire
So-
and like all that shit.
But like really critical to that paint can scene, or where it like falls apart for me. And if I were to make a version of the film you guys are talking about, which I actually think would be hilarious, I'm like, this is gonna sound ridiculous, but like I wish they had showed the paint can. Like I wish they had paid for the
Right?
effects to do the
Yeah.
paint can, because like it
That was
would've
pretty
been
brutal. It was pretty
ludicrous.
brutal.
I mean, it would have
Yeah.
been nuts. That's true.
But like
I was
that's
waiting for like the big. I 100% agree. Like I was waiting for the big reveal, and then you just kind of get some blood and paint dripping.
Yeah, it's
But, like-
what would have made this a black comedy is if you showed that, because that would have been so
I don't even,
ludicrous.
you know, like you say that, and I totally understand what you're saying, but it just doesn't feel like it was intended to be a comedy to me. But I agree that
No,
the
yeah,
tone
fair,
is off.
Well, if it's not a comedy, I don't know what it is.
And part of what
That's-
of it being so dead serious, part of that is what makes all of the weird psychosexual stuff feel so awkward to me because it's so like deadly serious.
Yeah.
What I like about the
But
paint
I
can
think
scene
that-
though,
I think that's just the kids' version of trying to like channel like the American Psycho-esque of,
Yeah.
you know.
right?
that
And he's
performance.
a kid, so like, you know, he's only going to be able to do that so
Right.
he's not actual
But, like,
Christian Bale.
Like we were saying, though, I think this would have improved. Like, if they would have leaned into the Home Alone references, or if they would have leaned into the whole American Psycho aspect of it a little more, gone a little more over the top, it would have come across better. I think some cartoony gore and stuff like that, like we were saying with the paint can and whatnot, probably would have improved this some just for the sheer spectacle of it.
Yeah. It is
Oh.
really funny when
Yeah,
he
'cause-
when he squeak screams at the end. I just
Yeah.
want to reiterate that. He's like, no, and he's like shrieking.
Yeah, yeah. Which I mean, I get. You know, that's his character. Like, how else are you gonna have a little kid scream?
Yeah, no, it's funny. But it's
It's
great. I mean, they
natural
play
for-
off of that a lot, though. She's just like the girl being like, "What did you think was gonna happen?" You know, just like playing
Yeah.
on that fact that he is so young.
Yep.
What's the worst scene? That's my question.
When he comes on to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makeout scene by far is.
Yeah.
It's
most
real bad.
uncomfortable.
It's not good.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what was awful too? The boob touching scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
I like
yeah.
blocked it out.
Yeah. Also, like
What, that wasn't
unnecessary,
like
too,
your guys' first time.
I will
too?
say
What?
it did make me laugh when he said, this is," what did he say? He was like, "I see why." I see.
Yeah,
What
like,
did
I see what all the fuss is
he- yes,
about.
I see what all the fuss is about. Like, all right, that was kind of funny.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was
it was
unnecessary.
Oh Christ!
Sure, sure.
I'm just
So
saying.
bad.
Move
I
on.
thought that the ex-boyfriend that showed up later was sitting on the swing. I thought that as far as the spectacle of the kills and stuff, that one was kind of disappointing after the paint can.
Well, yeah, because he just shows up and then you're like, oh, you got hung by a lawnmower.
Yeah, and he had everything set up. He had a already lawnmower out there. You
Yeah.
figured there's something happening with the swing, stuff like that. You thought it would be something good and over the top again, but it wasn't.
It's
like,
like
easily there, they could have done some sort of Home Alone like take.
it's like Mousetrap. It's like Mousetrap, the game, except it actually works.
Yeah.
See, the thing I would say about that one is that was the one that
Seems like it was
ties
supposed to be
together-
funny.
well, it ties together. Like it makes him. It at least portrays the kid as like some sort of evil genius because he gets him
Sure.
to do the whole like note thing, and then you see the note. Like that was like a well executed sort of like set piece. But like it's where the dude getting hit with the paint can in the face. Like I'm not really sure how the cops were gonna like tie that together.
I was
with
gonna
the
talk
whole-
about that, like too, like
Well-
when we get to the ending and like we kind of have the big reveal. Like, how would the cops say like, all right, whoever actually planned this, like, that was how they executed this whole thing, like a paint
Yeah.
can swinging down. Like, what
Yeah.
the fuck's going on there?
I did like this scene where everyone's dead and the parents are coming home and he's trying to get back in his bedroom. There's this whole thing where like his mom puts a pencil on the doorknob because he takes like sleep medication and she wants to know if he's been sleepwalking or whatever. That scene, it's again though, it's an example of like all my issues with the scripting. It's directed really well. That's a tense scene of him
Mhm.
trying to get back in the room while the timer's ticking down, and then he's got to climb out of the window to go around. And that's like what's the rub of this movie is there are things that are technically done really well like that.
You know, the other thing I question with that scene though is as much as this kid had everything planned out, he had everything set up so he didn't have to clean as much at first, and then that got away from him, obviously, and stuff. But he'd gone through and meticulously planned a lot of this stuff, and then they get to the end, and this whole thing hinges on him pulling off everything to cover all this up, and he still takes the sleeping pill at the end when he gets to bed. Wouldn't you want to be like awake and alert so you could react to issues that pop
Does
up?
he? I didn't even
Well,
catch that.
you might want to get. Yeah, he does take it. I don't know. Maybe he thought he was gonna get like drug tested or something. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
It's a fair. It's a you make a fair
Yeah.
point.
I mean, maybe he also just wanted a good night's sleep. Like, there's been a lot of stuff going on. Like, I
He
know I
was
would
up
be
late.
able to fall asleep.
His heart was pounding. He's just trying to relax, really.
He had a melatonin.
He
Yeah.
did get to touch his first boob that day, so I can see why he'd be
That's
excited.
true.
Big day. All right,
Yeah.
guys. Would you recommend this movie? Oh, hey, Mark's here. Mark decided to show up.
Ask him if you recommend it. or
Should we
not.
start over? Maybe CC can go this time.
No, Mark's here, so it won't count this time.
Yeah, CC, you're out. Go.
Oh, well, he's not here. All right. John, do you recommend this
Ghost
movie?
Mark.
I'm gonna say I do recommend it, but you know, it's catch it on the Netflix or the like.
Casey?
Yeah, I'd agree with John. I mean, there's far worse movies out there, so it's fun for a night.
JoJo?
I would say no. There's a ton of better Christmas horror movies out there that you could watch every year, like Krampus, and don't.
We
bother.
didn't even discuss the
Yeah.
fact that they marketed this as a Christmas movie, which
Yeah.
is ludicrous. Now that you brought that up.
Yeah, exactly.
CC?
Sure, but yes, it's not a Christmas horror movie.
I was going to say no, unless you're just like clamoring for a new Christmas horror movie, in which case, like, there's Christmas decorations.
It's
Yeah.
No,
That
I
is
actually
Christmas.
want to like change my vote now because Joe reminded me that they told this as a Christmas.
Like
movie.
I feel like this type of movie and like Christmas, like holiday movies in general, like Halloween.
I don't
or
know. I mean,
Christmas
a
or
lot
anything,
of movies are just set at Christmas. Like, they don't have.
It's such like a specific time. Like, you're not gonna watch Krampus in the middle of the summer. So it's like
Yes.
something you would watch like around this time of year. And this is not a movie I would ever bother
Well,
going back and watching again.
take the movie Home Alone, which is the movie that this movie tries to ape or at least sort of like make reference to. It's a movie that doesn't have to be about Christmas. It's about a kid who's stuck home alone and his family goes on vacation. But they actually like do a bunch of shit that's about like the majesty of Christmas and like like respecting
Right, like it
your
has nothing to
neighbors
do
and
with the
whatnot.
fact.
They
This
did
is look
none
at
of
our rich people decorations.
basically.
Hey, Mark.
Hey,
Who this new number?
Yeah.
One familiar.
New Sky Buddhist.
You got here just at the end. Do you recommend this movie?
No.
Okay, cool.
Oh.
All right, guys. It is time. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Coming for me.
The creators of Tales from the Crypt have unearthed a story so terrifying it can only be seen on the big screen. Bordello of Blood.
Go for it.
Rated R. Starts Friday, August 16th at theaters everywhere.
Hi, this is Billy Bryan, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back. Thanks for that burning insight, Mark. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. I have a feeling it was in line with what everyone else wanted.
No.
I would say we were probably I ended up nicer to the movie than I was expecting, but
Yeah, see, I didn't get it. I didn't get the chance to talk to everyone about it, but the more I thought about it, the less I liked it. So
I do have to say, I'm really glad for this next email because a couple weeks ago, we got a tweet from someone who told us that they don't preheat their oven when they cook. And since we haven't recorded a show since then, literally every time I log into Twitter, it's like at the top of Ask BGH, and it makes me so mad every time I see it.
Oh, every
So-
time I look at my fucking stove, I get enraged.
Well, That was from one Mr. Robale, and guess what, guys? He wrote back in to address Ovengate 2017.
Yes.
Robale.
Says, I must say, when I used Ask BGH to ask the question, does anyone actually preheat their oven? I did not expect such anger from the crew. Eric.
Lesson learned.
Yeah. Eric, who mere weeks ago I wrote only my second email to the show in my 7 years of listening to praise, was visibly upset. Minutes later, Eric responded to the death of David Cassidy with, quote, I'm all right with it. The death of a national hero meant literally nothing to him, I think because I had blinded him with such rage. I haven't seen anger in the crew like
Hero
that.
might be pushing it.
I haven't seen anger in the crew like that since Shenanigans went away. But I'm an adult and a fan, so I want to issue an apology if you will have it. In the 2 weeks since, I have actually preheated my oven for the first time in my 35 years. I usually just throw the food in and add a couple of minutes. Jesus, just you saying it again is making me angry.
So I would argue you are not an adult.
I usually just throw the food in and add a couple of minutes to the cook time. No longer. I only asked as a lead up to Thanksgiving, and I enjoy the crew's real life commentary. I'm sorry. So if I can set aside my rage here for a second, I got to say, Joe, at least we did some good work here and we helped someone out.
I'm out. I'm done. It's my last show.
Oh, good Lord.
We're glad you're here, but we won't be eating the turkey at your house on Thanksgiving.
Well, no, it sounds like he may. Well, I don't know if we got to him in time before Thanksgiving. So, all right, this one's kind of long, but I wanted to get it in. This was let's call it our final recollection of BGH tenure. He had some sweet stuff in here, so I want to get to it. This was from Dusty. This, I believe we have not read this in the show yet. I apologize if we have, but I don't think we have. He says, this is Dusty. Oh, sorry, I got a burp. Hold on. Oh, man.
Jesus Christ.
All that indigestion from that anger.
Listen, you're lucky with what's been going on in this house in the last 48 hours. You're all lucky I'm not projectile vomiting while recording. So, Dusty says, I do not remember exactly when I started listening to the show, but one of the first ones I remember hearing was The Gray. Since that movie was released in 2011, I guess I've been kicking around for about 6 years. Burp again. Sorry. I've been a horror fan for a while, but I don't have many other people in life who share my passion, so I started hunting for podcasts. I came across a lot of negative ones of people yelling at each other, so it was a breath of fresh air to find you all.
We yell sometimes, just to be clear.
If only he had
John
joined.
and I almost got in a fist fight over whether a movie's coming out.
I came across a lot of blah, blah, blah. It was a breath of fresh air to find you all who have an undeniable love of the genre and genuinely seem to love each other. I was excited about Back to Spooky School, but since I live in Kentucky and the event was in Milwaukee, I didn't think I'd be able to make it. We just bought a fixer-upper. I have a 2-year-old daughter and a son on the way, and at the end of the year, so making a trip amid all the chaos seemed highly unlikely. As it so happened, the Packers podcast I'm a part of, Pack to the Future.
Oh,
I like
Pack
it.
to the Future.
I like it.
Yes.
Decided to head up to Green Bay for a game this year. The game, the New Orleans Saints, on October 22nd, the day after Spooky School. The stars had aligned. I bought my ticket and circled the date in the calendar. Great Lakes Distillery was amazing. As I arrived and wandered back to the staircase, I had an overwhelming feeling of excitement and awkwardness. After all, I know you all from listening to you week after week, but you know nothing about me. I felt like conversations would be a bit like the Chris Farley show. Remember when you said that thing about the bathroom monkey? That was awesome. I was greeted at the door by a smiling group of Casey, his wife, and a maniacal-looking Herbert West. I said a brief hello, headed inside, and grabbed a shirt from Joe. I can't be sure, but I think he had a full keg back at the table with him. I didn't say much in any of these interactions. I felt self-conscious. I love talking to people, but I feel odd just walking up to people and striking up conversations. As I looked around the room, I saw a ton of horror-loving people gathered around tables, talking and laughing. I envisioned myself breaking into these conversations, but I did not. I stood at a table in the back, silently drinking and just taking it all in. I was implored by a tipsy Herbert West that I needed to try a sushi burrito. Nice work, Snores. So I headed out to the truck and grabbed a California bacon, and it was the best decision I've ever made. As I ate the burrito, I contemplated leaving after I finished it. Cece came up to me. We're pretty good internet friends, and I had the pleasure to hang out with her and Sophie at Horror Hound last year, so we struck up a conversation, and all the awkwardness I was feeling melted away. Nice work, Cece. Nice job.
I'm glad I could help.
I joined the new class table for trivia and had an absolute blast. I love Cece and Sophie to death. Just two incredible people right there. And I got to meet a ton of other great people. Colin, Andrew, and Jason were there, along with significant others. Shelton did an amazing job with trivia. I like to think I actually contributed to the second place finish for the team. Unfortunately, I had to bow out before the midnight screening. It's all right. All you missed was us sleeping and Schnars.
It was everyone was asleep.
Schnars spilling an entire
More like
beer in the
midnight
theater.
sleeping, am I right?
I briefly considered it, but I was getting up at 5:30 a.m. to tailgate for the Packers game, and I figured tailgating on 2 hours of sleep would be a colossally bad idea. You were correct, sir. I'm sorry I missed Reanimator, but I feel I made the right choice. I walked in not knowing how it was going to go and walked out beaming. It really was one of the best experiences of my life, and I can't thank you all enough for putting this together. I'm beyond thrilled I was able to attend. Huge shout out to Cece, Sophie, and the whole new class. That table was incredible.
I mean, our table was the best.
I wanted to share that story because I just thought he had some sweet things to say, and I think that that story of, going out on a limb to do something like that, but then feeling awkward and you can't really break into conversations. I think we've literally all of us have experienced that, and it makes me really, it makes me happy that Cece, you kind of were able to break him out of his shell a little bit, and sounds like Schnars yelled at him, made him eat a sushi burrito. That's cool. So
I think it's it's kind of a pretty perfect tale, especially for our 10-year, because honestly, we all started this show that way.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
None of us knew each other. I remember the first time going to see Eric, I was nervous, what the hell am I going to say to him? And then I said, "Oh, I thought you would be taller."
Yeah, that's true. And by the time people showed up, we were all at least a little tipsy, each of us. So it was it was just good times.
Semi-lit.
Yeah. No, Mark was super lit, but
oh, whatever.
Mr. Absinthe. So yeah, one more email. Anyway, thank you for that, Dusty. One more from Skylar. It's Christmas time, 1996. As was customary, when I was home alone near the end of the year, 14-year-old me went snooping around the house to see if I could find my future Christmas gifts. I never did that.
Oh, I did.
Oh, I did.
I unwrapped presents, played with them, and then wrapped them back up and put them on
Well,
the tree.
you're gonna like this story then, Joe. Lo and behold, in the attic, I discovered one of the best gifts I would ever receive, a Nintendo 64. Being the impatient sort, I proceeded to take it out of the attic and open the box with the skill and precision of a bomb disposal expert defusing an IED. After hooking it up in the living room TV and sampling my future copy of Super Mario 64 for roughly an hour, I packed everything back up and put it back where I found it. To this day, I do not think my parents have any clue that this happened. I gave an Oscar-worthy performance of surprise and delight when I finally unwrapped it Christmas morning. Though the delay was certainly something I didn't need to fake, I love that N64. Do any of you have memories of some of the best Christmas gifts you've ever received? Skizbot. I gotta say, he's missing out.
I did the exact same thing with the Game Genie. I opened it up, played with all the games, and then put it back in there.
The Game Genie.
All of the lives.
Game Genie was amazing.
You're
talking SNES Game Genie?
SNES.
No, the original NES.
NES one.
Schnars,
it never ceases to amaze me the things that you say funny.
Right in the SNES.
SNES. Well, I had both the NES and the Super Nintendo one. They were both gold.
I gotta say, Skizbot, you're missing out on one of the best parts of becoming an adult, which is mortifying your parents by telling them all the things you got away with that they didn't know about.
Yeah.
We
See, my mom was fairly savvy but I also had a cousin who was the same age as me in my class and everything, lived in the same town, and our parents were too smart because they stored his presents at my house and my presents at his house. So I was so confused when I was getting sports equipment and shit for Christmas, and it was
my parents got us 1 year because I have 2 younger sisters, and probably when my younger sister was like 5 or 6, they got us a trampoline, which they had built in the backyard. So it was like one of these things, like you come down, and I can't remember if we opened a box or how the hell we kind of figured out that we had to go out in the backyard. But we went out and there was a trampoline, and of course, it's Christmas, it's goddamn freezing. So we dressed in our winter clothes and went out and bounced the trampoline. It was the best. That was the best Christmas morning.
I think I'm sure Eric is probably partially thinking of this story, but our parents would always save the big present for last. In 1 year, it was a foosball table, but the foosball table was not yet assembled. So we spent most of the day on Christmas assembling it, and we started playing it and couldn't figure out why it felt so weird, and then realized we'd put all of the guys on backwards. And then we had to go for Christmas dinner to our aunt and uncle's house. So not only did we not get to play with it on Christmas, but we had to, when we got back, we had to disassemble it.
As someone who
reassemble it.
has disassembled and reassembled that table multiple times, even since like becoming an adult, I've moved it around a couple times. That is a bitch, man. Oh my god.
Yeah. we got years and years and years out of that table, spilled gallons upon gallons of beer on it. It's a family heirloom, really.
But yeah, I never
There you go.
did that. I never snooped.
One time I did reach into the back of the trunk while I was sitting in the back seat to get a game that I just told my mom that I wanted for Christmas, and said, well, now that I have it, I should probably just have it. So, and that game was No Mercy for Nintendo 64.
Nice.
Nice.
info@bloodygoodhorror.com is
Lord.
the email address.
I really wanted that goddamn game.
We're also on Twitter at BG Horror with the hashtag AskBGH and BGH Classics. Mark.
Nice catch, I was going to say. But first, BGH Classics,
Bring
if
us
you
home.
are listening to back episodes via Patreon, patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror, and you hear something silly and you want us to read about it, tweet it with the hashtag BGH Classics, and we will read it. This first one is from Library O Congress. Episode 234, Eric discussing the logic of the trailer for A Haunted House. I mean, people have balls, so I guess it makes sense that a ghost would have balls.
Oh, you kicked him in his ghost balls.
Oh, thank you for giving him the excuse to say that again. Next one is from Mr. Finn 607. Mark, yep, first night. Threw up right in the sink. It was like the first night in the real world house, and why I wanted to show everyone that how it was done.
Where was this?
That was at Hocking Hills.
You threw up in the sink at Hocking Hills?
Yeah, I drank like 3/4 of a bottle of bourbon on the first night. And
I
just
don't remember
threw up
that
in
at
the
all.
sink. How do
this.
you?
Lately,
how-
I'm starting to think that my memory is going, you guys.
Me too, dude. I mean, I'm kind of glad that you forgot, but now we've told thousands upon thousands of people
Yeah.
about it. So
I wasn't there that year, and I remember that happening.
yeah, it was not my best. I mean, better than on the floor, I guess. You can wash it down. I don't know. So gross.
No, the sink's the
Anyways.
worst because it gets stuck.
Oh, I know. I had to clean it
No,
out, so
sink
I
sucks.
remember.
Don't do that. If you're a person out there,
I don't need to hear.
if you're a
anymore.
person out there and you can go, don't do the sink, man. That's no good and doesn't end well.
Listen, man.
There's
sometimes
always
you
the
gotta
kid
work-
in like your first week in college who does that. Always.
You got to work with what you're given, you know.
Yeah.
It was my first week in college, even though I was like 28 when that happened. Okay. We're also on Twitter with the hashtag AskBGH. You have a question?
I feel
Ask
you.
it. First one is from me, Corzo, and Mia Moore. Who is it on BG Horror that plays Hearthstone? Mostly John, but me sometimes. I haven't played in a while. but-
Yeah.
Didn't Evan play that too?
I don't think Evan plays.
Oh, okay.
I gotta imagine he does. I don't
Well,
even know what
if
that
he-
is, but it sounds like something he would do.
If he does, I'm going to be very upset with him for not being my
Well,
friend. on
since she's a
Hearthstone, or
patron,
whatever that's called.
since she's a patron, she should join the gaming channel and start up a conversation. I'm sure there'll be many people who'd like to talk about it.
Yeah.
I gotta-
Hashtag
me-
spooky gaming. It's mostly about Animal Crossing, but sometimes it's about.
Oh, man, I bounced off of that hard.
Dude,
It's not.
The amount of
Listen.
what was the game you guys were
Hold on.
discussing, Eric?
It was-
fucking
there
like
is-
Harvest.
it was
Moon game
Animal
or-
There's
it was-
no greater
Oh.
window into the gentle soul of horror fans that we created a channel called Spooky
Eric
Gaming,
is
and
just so
by
excited to talk
far,
about these games.
No,
the
so
most like engaging conversation that's happened in that channel has been about Animal Crossing.
so no, but before that, John's talking about in while we were waiting for Animal Crossing to come out, we
Oh,
started talking about
Stardew Valley?
Stardew Valley, which is a game that I played, and the it was made by one dude. And it's basically like a throwback, like 16-bit homage to. It's like a combination of sort of like Sailor Moon with Animal Crossing, just like farming sim kind of
Yeah,
games.
yeah. I didn't really want to talk about it anymore, but you know.
I don't
here we
care.
are.
You brought it up.
Your
Schnars.
face right now is
Schnar-
the greatest thing ever.
I started reading something else, so I'm done.
But yeah, so we started talking about that, and it's delightful.
Yeah, it's a good channel, and if you're not in BGH Slack, you should check us out on
Listen, man,
patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
2017, the world needs Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. Okay.
There you go. Next one is from Pitman1382. What's the #1 song in everyone's workout mix?
Oh my god. That is
Uh,
impossible to say.
I'm gonna go ahead and say "Nuck If You Buck."
I was gonna say anything really ridiculous rap, or I don't know. I listen to a lot of Marilyn Manson. When
That
I'm
was
working
actually
out.
CC Nuck If You Buck was Kyle's suggestion because I was like, I need some like really ignorant shit for my workout
yeah.
playlist, and that was like the first thing he suggested.
Yeah,
I
I
used
was
to
gonna
rock.
say a lot of rap or like nails or anything really really heavy.
I've
Yeah.
got some WWE entrance themes on my workout playlist. Yeah.
I have a running playlist that is currently 301 songs and 19 hours, and it is just the most random, insane shit that will pop in my
It
head
is.
at any point.
It is. I can
Do you
attest to
sing
it.
out loud while you're running?
I do actually. Like people have caught
impressive.
me. Like if there's stuff that I really get into,
I used
like I'll be
to.
running because I usually run at like 5 a.m. and nobody's out there, but I have been caught a few times.
I used to rock out to a lot of Kanye West when I was like going to the gym a lot, like Dark Twisted Fantasy. That whole album's got a lot of good gym bangers on it.
Gym bangers stuff.
Damn bang.
And I when I was running
Says the guy who loves Stardew Memories.
when I was running a lot, John. That's the thing is I'm a Renaissance man. That's the thing you don't
Yeah.
understand about me. I
I'm
contain
down with Dark Twisted
multitudes.
Fantasy and this Stardew fucking.
When I used to run run actual races a lot, I would back time my playlist to end with Dragon Force with like a 7-minute. It was always like a 7-minute
Oh.
Dragon Force song,
Mm.
or like
I would
Buckethead
do
or
the
something.
same thing, but to the music that plays during the Soarin' ride in Epcot. It
funny-
is so fucking beautiful. I love it.
The problem with Dragon Force is it's amazing for that, but it also destroys your pace because it's way too fast and it goes on for 7 minutes. It's like an entire mile of guitar solos, basically. There you go.
Aggressive. There you go.
Stardew Memories.
Flying over the finish line on dragon's wings. All right, the next one is from Until Dawn podcast. What is everyone's favorite subgenre of horror, and how has it changed, and has it changed over the last 10 years of the show?
Oh.
I don't know.
I love me some good monster movies. I think one thing that's changed a lot is the quality of effects. If you go back and listen to the show, like when we're talking about The Mist versus like in King Kong, for example, we don't even really talk about the effects anymore because it just looks like a real ass giant gorilla. Like
Yeah.
we've hit like uncanny valley territory.
I actually was
That's true.
confused about whether they found a giant gorilla. and
Like
got it
like that
from
gorilla just ate that kraken, and I believe that just happened.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's like that weird lizard thing with no legs but a long tail. That's cool. That's real.
Yeah, why didn't it have legs?
Ah, Christ.
I think it's hard to do, but I really love a good horror comedy. Like when
Mm.
there's one that's like legitimately funny and does have scary moments. Like I love that.
Yeah.
Well, and there's
Yeah.
that's so hard to come by because I was thinking about what was that movie? It wasn't Fear Inc. What the hell's the name of that movie? The comedy that was not funny. That was like the whole purpose of the company was to scare people.
Oh.
Oh yeah. Was it? Fear?
Oh God,
Yeah.
that
That was
dumbass
Fear
movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was very.
Okay.
I mean,
was there
the name of the movie is Fear Inc., guys.
well, right, but I'm saying
What's
like,
that movie about the company that specializes in fear?
it's to the point
Just
that,
recently when incorporated.
That is part of a limited liability.
But to that point, like that movie could have come out in 1998, and I would have thought it was fucking hilarious. So that's changed. Sensibilities have changed just as much as movies have.
Yeah.
I don't. The thing I would say my like biggest subgenres are sci-fi, and then I love horror westerns, and both of those have been
Oh.
kind of underappreciated. It's where I can't remember if I talked about it with you guys, but I did end up seeing Alien Covenant, and I actually liked it a pretty good amount.
Because it's good.
Yeah,
It's
but if-
Yeah.
it's like it's solid, and like if you are into horror sci-fi, like good, it's in.
Well,
You're-
John,
you're
it
in.
doesn't totally fit with the canon I had imagined in my head. So
It pretty
I-
much had me
I
as soon
wanna-
as Fassbender kissed himself. I was like, this is the greatest movie that's ever been made.
I would have pegged you for a horror porn parody, John. As if that was your-
Yeah, I didn't say
Yeah.
Joe. I didn't say I don't like those.
Listen,
Like
Schnar-
anything with,
Schnars,
like,
the-
penetration.
listen,
I was gonna say,
Schnars,
the classics like re-penetrator never go out
yeah,
of style.
Schnars is
Oh,
not
man.
above a good old like this ain't the monsters triple X.
Yeah.
Wow.
Adam,
It's your job.
Adam
He's got
Family
it.
Gangbang.
I'm gonna. This is obvious for anybody who listens, but I guess I'm gonna say found footage is my jam.
Wolf.
That or like slashers.
Found footage horror porn. Just vampires in the woods.
Slashers. I like terror movies.
The
Screw you
Walking
guys.
Dead.
John, I like the sci-fi horrors a lot.
Yeah.
Followed closely by monsters. But I know what it was Extraterrestrial. I think we watched last year or the year before by Some Kind of Brothers. I got like actually excited watching that movie the first time just because it was aliens. It was freaking me out and it was cool.
I think mine is, the psychological, more kind of foreboding dread. And I think those have really been on a kick lately. So,
yeah,
we need to talk about Kevin.
that one was a little heavy.
A little much.
Little much.
There's only one scene I think about when that movie comes up, and I don't want to talk about it.
I know exactly the scene you're talking about. Look at me. All right, last one.
Don't break eye contact, Mom.
Is from.
Oh my god.
I don't want to close my eyes.
Stay with me. Stay
Don't
with me.
want to fall asleep.
Right here.
Oh god.
Oh shit! Last one is from Nick
Worst.
Allman Scott. What's everyone's favorite Christmas horror movie? Gremlins, duh.
Yeah, it's not even there's not even like a number 2.
No, it's for me. It's Black Christmas.
I like Krampus.
Yeah, Krampus is pretty
Yeah,
solid.
I haven't revisited Krampus yet, but I'm thinking I'm going to.
That's
I'm
a
gonna
yearly
say
thing.
I'm gonna say Santa's sleigh just so we can get Schnars to puke.
Oh,
on air.
stop.
The first no, I'll listen. I'll give you the first 10 minutes of Santa's sleigh.
Yeah.
It's like, come. Ay. I don't even justify that with a response.
I kind of want to go back to Ginger Dead, man. Is that weird?
Oh,
No,
It's a little weird. It's a
tough one.
little weird.
it's a tough one.
Yeah. Better or worse than Jack Frost? I don't know. It's all blending into one movie. That's
There
it.
you go.
oh, cool.
Did you get
there
Roll
is-
Bales?
Say what now?
There was
Hit-
2 from Real Barrel.
Hit
Oh,
latest,
yeah.
Mark. Please hit the latest
he who
button.
doesn't preheat.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. I don't know why I said we were done. We have 2 from Robale.
Good
You
work,
do it,
Mark.
First one. All right, whatever, guys. Creepiest kid movie since The Good Son? Question mark.
No.
I think we need to talk about Kevin as the creepiest.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Nice.
But The Good Son is pretty creepy.
What was that one we watched where it turns out that it's actually like just a little person pretending to be a child?
Orphan.
Oh, the
The
Orphan.
Orphan. That movie was really solid. I
Yeah.
reflect back on it very positively.
And it was super creepy when the reveal
Sure.
happened.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, that was
that's a
creepy.
good one.
Spoiler alert, guys, for anyone who hasn't seen
Oh.
it. But that's a very solid movie in my opinion.
Also, a great example of a movie that literally none of us would have seen if it wasn't for the show.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
we wouldn't have
absolutely.
seen it. And like, by the way, the twist, like, I had no fucking idea what was
No.
happening
Oh,
until
yeah.
it happened. And then I was like, you have to be effing kidding me. And
Yeah.
then the movie goes on for another 30 minutes of like chaos. It's
Yeah.
ay. Yeah, that movie's awesome.
John
Creepy-
just got
creepy
worked
kid.
up.
No, it's funny because Joe mentioned, like, I was just thinking about that movie for some reason. I can't remember why.
Were you
Hey.
thinking about your costume for next Halloween?
Yeah. No, I was probably thinking about the 2 small humans that are walking around my apartment acting like terrorists.
If
on a
one of them
regular
starts wearing
basis.
a ribbon around her neck, look
yeah.
out.
Yeah, exactly.
Look
Yeah.
out.
Is that it?
That child's a murderer. All right.
Orphan. Oh man, I gotta check that movie out again.
For real.
And I'm crazy for wanting to watch A Dark Song again, but
Hold on.
you're gonna go watch The
Anytime
Orphan.
soon.
Oh, cool. Orphan. All right. Last one for real from
I'm gonna look
Robale.
up. Do we
Any
have a
leftover
review?
BGH 10 shirts, or will you make the design available anywhere else? Question mark.
John?
Yeah, we're gonna make it available. We also do have some leftovers that we're trying to sell, and just put it on me. I have not had a chance to figure out how we're gonna
Baby
sell
girl put it on him.
It's there.
Yeah.
I can turn my camera and show you the stacks of them sitting in the corner.
Yeah.
So can you put on all of them at once, please?
Do a time lapse video.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got T-shirts and we got posters left over. So that's the thing.
Did we
There you
ever send
go.
that one guy the poster?
I did, and he returned it or like refused acceptance, and I never wrote him back asking what the fuck happened here.
Perhaps we should take care of that.
Yeah.
Hey, John.
Cool.
John Schnars.
Yeah.
Guess who reviewed Orphan?
Did I?
Yup.
What did I give it?
You tell me.
Oh my god! Imagine if you gave it like a shitty score.
No,
Like a 3.
I'm gonna guess I gave it like. I'm hopeful that I gave it like a 6.
You gave it a 6. I swear.
There you go.
Here's
Wow.
And
the,
you know what? I would love to watch it again to see if I liked it more or less.
Here's
But
the-
it's a movie that sticks with me.
Here's the last paragraph, John, just for you. John and Kate's is a small, damaged, but loving family. They've been through so much that they just want, and we want for them, to start being normal again. And it's into this situation that Esther steps up to wreak pulpy and at times unintentionally hilarious havoc. If watched straight up, there's a number of scenes that could strain credulity and pull one out of the film, but enjoyed for the zany thriller that its climax shows it to be, Orphan can be a lot of fun.
Yes.
Credulity.
I stand by that.
Hot pro tip for reviewers out there: when anybody ever sends in like writing and say like, "Hey, we want to write for you guys," which we're not always looking, but sometimes we are. John Schnars told me this trick. You read the first paragraph and the last paragraph, and if there's not sort of some kind of coherent thesis contained in both, you just wad it up and
Yeah, the rest.
throw it out. Yeah.
That's also how I read
I didn't
books
say
in
it
high
that
school.
way. I didn't make like a farting noise.
No, I did. And then if those like, okay, this seems coherent, then you go and you read the whole thing.
Yeah.
Also use the word credulity.
Credulity. There was like double hyphens in there and like all kinds of crazy grammatical things happening.
Hyphens, all kinds of hyphens.
Yeah. Do we decide what we're doing next week? I feel like no.
Well,
No.
the Shape of Water is going to 14 theaters as opposed to 12 from last week, so John is accurate.
I
All
believe
right.
it's
So
35,
small
just to
chance The
clear
Shape
it
of
up.
Water. Otherwise, we'll be working off of this list that Shelton gave us for potential other year-end things. We were just talking about it. We'll do an episode next week. We should be able to do an episode the week after that, and then we're gonna try to record the year-ender probably between the 27th and the 29th, I think, is what's happening. So
I
that's
was
what's
looking for
going
a
on.
New Year's Eve episode, but Eric denied it. So
I mean,
Oh.
I'm literally. There's no way I'm doing anything on New Year's Eve. So, but no, I want to get out I want to get out before that, John. And people could listen to it on New Year's Eve. If
Nah,
they wanted to.
all right.
What are you doing?
All right, guys. What else we
Guys-
got going on? If you want to watch a live streaming version of the show every week, check us out. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. There is a bunch of other goodies you get when you sign up, including access to Slack and the back catalog. And don't forget to check out CC's book club, bloodygoodhorror.com. We are also on Goodreads, Bloody Good Horror.
StardewValley.com.
No, it's Stardew Memories, Mark. Don't forget.
Memories.
That's going to do it, guys, for Better Watch Out. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you next week.
Adios.
Oh,
See ya.
oh, God.
See you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.